Hey gorgeous, if you've been told you're too expensive, then you're going to watch today's video. I'm Denise Duffield-Thomas, money mindset mentor, best-selling author, and founder of the Money Bootcamp. I love talking about pricing, and I see a ton of mistakes that entrepreneurs make all the time. And especially this one, taking it personally when someone tells you you're too expensive. That sucks, I know. Now, I've written a book called Chillpreneur, and I love to give you the advice to take nothing personally, but I know it hurts. You have to give up the illusion that there is a perfect price though, and that you can avoid criticism when you find it, because you can't please everyone. But I know it feels horrible when you have this perfect solution and then people tell you that they can't afford it. And you might even be feeling shame about your pricing right now, deciding that you might be too greedy and you're tempted to give discounts or cut your prices altogether. But please don't do that. But expensive, what does it even mean? Something that one person sees as super expensive can seem super cheap to someone else and totally reasonable. Now, I'm pretty chill about hearing someone say I'm too expensive, not just because I'm a chillpreneur, it's because I just know that I'm out of their particular budget at that particular moment. They might even be able to afford it, but they just don't want to spend the money on that particular thing. It could mean that you need to do some more work on your sales page or better showcase your value, not that you really are too expensive. Now, you will have people say no to you and you know that you're very reasonable because they say they can't afford it, and then they'll spend money on something completely ridiculous the next week. Now, it is none of your business what people value. It's none of your business what people spend their money on, but you do not have to change your pricing to meet their expectations and budget. It's just a mismatch of budget. It's a mismatch of energy or values or money mindset. It's not a moral failing on your part if someone can afford you. Your pricing is not a translation of your value as a human being. Money is just money. Price is just the price. Now, actually, maybe your prices can be a little bit too high, which I know I just sounds like I contradicted everything I said, but your price might be too high for your ideal client, but you can change your ideal client. If you've consciously chosen a target market that's on a low or fixed income, yes, maybe sometimes your prospective clients won't have the money to pay premium rates. They might be just too busy trying to make ends meet. So it's a trade-off. A lot of people confuse their actual business with their charitable giving because they want to help so much a particular type of person or solve a problem. And there's nothing wrong with that if you want to charge a lower rate, but you have to be a right price match with your target client. And you have to have the right business model to support it. Not only your audience, but what you want to achieve. Now, you might also set your prices too high for your client's business level. Now, I don't often recommend that brand new entrepreneurs work with super high-end coaches, for example, because they're rarely in a place to get immediate value for their money. Now, I've seen newbies get really flustered and they get advice about how to up-level their business or create high-end branding, but they don't even have the basics in place. It's okay to work with someone in line with where they're at. Now, I once invested $7,000 for like a business coaching day with a very high-end coach. And half the room was like, that was totally worth it. But I talked to some people and half of them felt like it was a massive big ripoff. What was the difference? It was the same content, but half of the people were six-figure business owners and half of them were million-dollar business owners. We all heard the same advice, but to be honest, a lot of the advice was applicable to the million-dollar half of the room, which was that for me. I wasn't any smarter. It's just that at that point in our business journey, that advice we received was more useful to us and it had a quicker return on investment. So we got the same information, we paid the same amount of money, but we experienced completely different value from that day. Now, what about you? What do you think when you hear someone's prices and they feel cheap? Now remember, cheap is one of those made up things as well, right? But when you consider something cheap, you might kind of have a different perception around their service. Like when someone's prices are very low, we think, well, maybe they're just starting out. Maybe they're really inexperienced. Maybe they're like an apprentice. So are you giving that perception with your current prices if you're pricing too low? Do your prices make you look like a beginner? Do your prices make you look like someone who's insecure about their worth? When people charge cheap rates, of course it doesn't mean that they're inexperienced or bad at what they do. Lots of people undercharge, but it might make people second guess working with you because they could be suspicious of your price, maybe worried about the value that they get in return, or maybe they know that it means that you have money blocks. Now, when I personally work with someone who undercharges and I know that they have money blocks, I know that sometimes they're slow to invoice, even when I ask them, like, send me the invoice, or they'll over deliver in a way that's not always useful, like taking extra time. And to be honest, it doesn't feel good because I can feel their money blocks and their money stuff leaking into every interaction that we have together. And it makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel like I should take care of them instead of the other way around. Now, as someone who has money to spend, I want to work with people who have very clean and clear money boundaries and who know their worth and don't buy into a power dynamic just because I earn more money than they do. I'm coming to them because of their expertise and how they can help me, not so I can help them. So if I'm someone like your target audience, I want you to think about that because I like working with people who have worked on their money blocks. It doesn't mean that they're perfect, doesn't mean they have to earn more money than me, but I can tell the difference when somebody is undercharging and over-delivering. Now, we all judge things by their price. It doesn't make you snobby. Now, recently I was purchasing a flight for my mum so she could join us on vacation. And there were two major airlines, but there was a $1,000 price difference, two fairly similar airlines. And I was like, hang on. Mark's just like, just book the cheaper one. And I was like, no, why is it so cheap? Is it a really old crappy plane? Like, is there a layover? And I couldn't figure it out. I was so suspicious, but it made me not want to buy the cheaper one because I assumed there'd be some catch, some horrible catch down the road. And my experience, when something is suspiciously cheap, it's usually suspiciously cheap for a reason. So whether you're just starting out or you're an established professional, you do not want to offer the cheapest service in your industry. So if people are saying, oh my God, you're so cheap, or they're referring other people to you by saying, oh, she's so cheap. And you don't necessarily just want to work with clients who only think that price is the most important thing. So if people are telling you you're too cheap, take it as a sign that people have a different perception around your worth than you do. It's not necessarily a compliment. Now let's look at the flip side. What do you think when someone has quite expensive pricing? Maybe you're like, oh, she must be really good at what she does. Or, oh, they have a really, high self-esteem. Now, I'm not saying this is true or fair that they're really good if they charge a lot of money, but that's the reality of pricing psychology. A higher price often gives a perception of experience, mastery, skill, confidence, and higher self-worth. But this could be another reaction to pricing, could be something like, that's not for me. It might feel unfair. Now, if you price yourself out of someone's budget, it doesn't mean that you're being unfair. It doesn't mean that you're being exploitative. It's okay for those people to be served by someone else if it's not a budget match. And it's also okay that some people have to save up to work with you. Do you remember wanting something that was financially out of your reach and then you saved up and then you got a sense of accomplishment when you could finally work with that person and afford it? So don't take away someone's sense of triumph when they feel like they can finally work with you. Not everyone gets to work with you just because they want to right now. Now, I'm not advocating price gouging or just being a dick about it, right? Most people can tell the difference between knowing their self-worth and being flat out evil. You're not going to be flat out evil with your pricing. If you're an unethical person, you're an unethical person in all areas of your life. And I know that is not you. It is not evil. It is not manipulative to want to make a good living from your business. Not only to put food on the table for your kids and your family, but also to have enough money to live a great life. And just because there are greedy people in the world does not mean that you will be greedy when you have more money. Now remember, there's no magical critic-proof price that's going to make everybody happy. That just doesn't exist. Even if you were to undercharge, there will always be someone who will ask you why you're not doing it for free. And don't be offended. That is just a business rite of passage, and that criticism around your pricing is totally normal. People will ask you to lower your prices no matter how low they are. And it's okay to say no. It's totally okay for somebody to say you're too expensive. Now, you might agonize over the price. You might feel like you're quoting something really reasonable, and you will always get someone who will say it is too expensive. That's okay. Those people aren't your customers. Now, I remember one of my money boot campers said this. She got an email from a client saying, I received your price and it seems a bit too expensive. Could you amend this? And she just went, no. That's it. Like, it's okay for people not to work with you. But here's the key. Make sure you're surrounding yourself by people who also believe in charging what they're worth, because otherwise you will constantly second guess yourself and discounting will be your norm. Every time I've set my prices, I've had completely different reactions to the same amount. And even on the same day, I've heard that's too expensive and that's too cheap. This is why you have to have a great community around you, because you need people to talk you off that cliff from discounting just because someone said it was too expensive. Now, I'm not saying you can sell a bag of horse poo for 10 grand, but if you're giving good value and someone really wants that horse poo and it's appropriate for them to pay that and they'll get a great return on the investment, charge it with pride, with anything. And then you know what? There'll be someone who goes, oh, that's a bargain. And that's the truth about pricing. There will always be someone who thinks that you're too expensive. There will always be someone who thinks that it's great value. Who do you want to work with? Which one do you want to work with? You're not required to serve everyone. And some people are just not going to be a match for your pricing. And that's totally okay. You don't have to convince them. You don't have to bribe them. It's totally all right. You're not going to get it right the first time. You're not going to get it right the 100th time. So try not to worry about what other people say or think about your pricing. Just chill out. Just pick a number. You might think everyone's got a good formula for it. Everyone's just making it up. Now, I can't tell you exactly what to charge, but I can help you make sure that your money blocks don't sabotage your pricing and receiving money. And if you want my help to clear your money blocks, I have a great free workshop for you all about the 7 most common money blocks. Just go to denisedt.com/blocks and watch it today. And remember, it's totally okay to hear you're too expensive. It's your time and you're ready for the next step. Hey gorgeous, it's Denise here again. I would love to invite you into my brand new free money masterclass. I'll be talking about 7 big money blocks and exactly how you can clear them. I want to help you break free of your limiting beliefs so you can go to the next level of income. It's going to be easier than you think, but it all starts with getting out of your own way. Join me today over at denisedt.com/blocks and let's get started together.